this computer. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ooh, let the peace and blessings come on down and just flow on through. Welcome to the Treeshakers show, ladies. And at the Treeshakers show, we try to highlight tree shakers, people that's actually doing the work to bring about change for good people. That's what we highlight here. So welcome to the Tree Shakers show. Tree Shakers, how y'all doing today?
Good morning, good morning.
Glad y'all here on the Tree Shakers show. We let's start off with some introductions. That's a little bit about what we do here at the Tree Shakers show. And I'm the host and creator. I'm Kim Ford. And we started doing this show just so that we could highlight the people that I was coming across out here in the community and be able to have a voice and a free space to talk about the issues that we're dealing with. And Tree Shakers is on WHIV FM 102.3 here in New Orleans, but people can listen to it all over anywhere. Anybody that has the internet can go to WHIVFM.org and be able to hear the show. And you guys can share it with your network so that people can hear our recording today. So let's just jump straight off into it. Let's introduce yourselves, lady. You want to go first, Mya?
Sure. Hi, my name is Mya Harris. I live in Bogalusa, Louisiana. I'm currently from the Midwest. I currently work for a company called Maxima, which is a global company. And that's why I'm on today to speak about their unethical treatment on the job.
Okay, good. Now, Tiandra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiandra Robinson.
Tiandra.
I currently live in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I have roots and kinfolk spread across all over the bayou from Pascagoula all the way to New Orleans. And I am a campaign organizer for Communication Workers of America, which is a national union under the AFL-CIO. And I do just that. I assist the people, helping to empower them and give them a voice against or with the employer.
Mm-hmm. Against the oppression, right? You just trying to organize union work, right? Is that it?
Yes, we do a little bit of everything. I mean, we try and organize workers. We have locations here in Hattiesburg with groups of folks that are already organized. For example, AT&T is here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and they're already organized. There's one in Covington, Louisiana, that's already organized. And so there's already established unions throughout. And so really the way we got involved with it with CWA was by workers at that call center in Bogalusa reaching out to us and telling us about the injustices that were happening on the job and within the ranks and file of the employees.
Mm-hmm. So how do y'all want to get this started? I know in talking with you all, I really was just intrigued to find out, the who and the what of it all. Who is the employer and what's going on?
The employer is Maxima.
Maxima.
And
Tell them who Maxima is.
Maxima is a company that gets contracts from the federal government, and outside, they also get contracts dealing outside of the government as well. It is a global company, but most of their contracts comes from the federal government, from arms to the affordable health care, Medicare, Medicaid. They are the ones, the go-to person for most of anything that you're dealing with when it comes to the federal government. So this company is, when it comes to dollars, there's no end to it. But when it comes to the ones that are making the dollars for them, they could care less about them. We are just a number to them. It's like, I hate to say it this way, it's like, if you die, okay, next. If you sick, okay, next.
Yeah.
We don't care about you. All we care about is the numbers or the bigger people in this company being able to get into their gated community. But I always say gated community. Some of them may not live in a gated community, but they are living better than I'm living.
Yeah, they
And
can
it's
clock the dollars to be able to afford to live in
exactly.
right. And so I'm just sad to hear that, especially because when our federal government participate in supporting the oppression that have continued to face, particularly Black people, that's a problem. That is a problem. So what is the employer doing? What is the employer doing that makes you all, so that all of this work is to be able to get organized for a union? For what reason? Why y'all need a union there?
To better ourselves and to have a better working condition. There's just mere example. The young lady's no longer with the company. I just happened to run across her and I was speaking with her and I said, "Hi, how you doing? Are you still with us?" And she was like, "No, ma'am, I'm not." And I know this young lady, so I knew she was a good worker. I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "I was terminated on maternity leave." I am on, I have disabilities too. And I know the treatment of how they do you when you're working with a disability. It's not good. I've had gotten phone calls while I'm literally in my bed, not feeling well. And I have witnesses that can witness for me and say, yes, this is true. Where my supervisor has called me and I can hardly hold my head up off of my pillow to tell me I'm on a verbal or written or a warning, and I'm at home sick, hospitalized. I've gotten phone calls when I've had major surgery with them, with HR, my supervisor, my manager. And I've just come home from a major surgery. Not once did they say, well, how are you doing? Did your surgery go well? We wish you the best. None of that. Straight to the point. We're just calling you to tell you that it means like attendance points. You are going to be getting points. Really? You never once asked me, how are you? Did your surgery go well? We hope everything turns out for you. You're just telling me this is so-and-so, so-and-so, and we're all in the office, HR office, to inform you of that you're going to be getting points. Because
and it's so what Mya's getting at, and it's so disheartening to know that you have a CEO of the company that makes close to or over $4 million annually off the backs of low-income workers. They have this company in particular, just within the call centers, right? They do this work. So when you're a person out, you have a mother, grandmother that's calling Medicare, they are calling into these workers. And when you have someone that's on the Affordable Care Act, AKA Obamacare, as we like to call it, they are calling into these workers. And what my experience is and what she's sharing is reverberated throughout the 11 other call centers that they have. They set them up in a lot of times areas where they can get a good tax break, areas that may not have as much diversity, and areas that are smaller towns. They don't set up in the large cities. And they do that on purpose so they can continue to keep the wages low for workers while their CEOs and everyone else involved at the top is making millions and millions of dollars off the backs of these workers. Then you put on top of that the different policies that are absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
See, I've been in the call center industry for over 20 years. I've worked for other call center home offices, and I actually worked within that contract for 7 years prior to joining Communication Workers of America as a trainer. And so when I got there, I recognized that things were not normal. They were actually abnormal. And right now, the attendance policy that they're facing is 64 hours within a calendar year before termination. So
wait, I'm sorry, what now? Explain that to me. What does that mean?
yeah, so of course you have to come to work. We know that, in order to keep your job, you have to come to work.
Attendance, right?
Yeah, but these workers within this contract with Maximus, when Maximus came along, they bought out this contract from another company, and they decided to change the attendance policy. And the attendance policy now for every worker that works there, that's a regular worker, that's taking phone calls, is 64 hours within 12 months. That basically equates to 8 days. So if
What
you
do you
have,
mean 64 hours? So that means like you can't get any off time or you can't get any sick time or any vacation time. It's how you accrue vacation and sick time. That's what you're talking about, right?
well, no, that's the amount of days you can miss before you're terminated.
So whether it's a vacation or whether it's a sick day, it doesn't matter. Just whether you're there or not is the only.
Well, they do offer vacation once you've been there for a year. And they also do have some people that can get sick time, although that they've done away with offering paid sick leave to any new hires. So there are some people that have been there for years that are grandfathered in and get sick time. But just imagine you got this job in 2020, right, at the height of the pandemic, and you've been a loyal worker. You've been there now for a year, or maybe even a little less than a year. And now you may have a child that's out or has to be out. They're not currently giving any incentives past paying for you to wait to get a test, as far as being out sick with any COVID related stuff. So there is no sick time if you gained employment with them in 2020 or 21. You'll never earn paid sick time with them. You do earn vacation time, but there's so many blackout dates. Their blackout dates run for months and months and months at a time.
What is a blackout date?
Where you're not allowed to take your vacation, even if you've earned it.
Right.
And so it makes it extremely difficult because they put these different levels of policies in place that are so many hurdles to that everyday worker that's dealing with a work-life balance, that's dealing with children, that's dealing with people in school, that's dealing with elderly parents. And then you top it off with not being able to take the proper time off. You have students that aren't able to get their work schedule adjusted due to the fact that they won't work with folks that have school schedules. So you have a choice. Do you further your education, or do you keep your job and maintain your bills? And so these are the type of issues that workers all across the country are facing. And we have dozens of workers, hundreds of workers, as a matter of fact, like Mya, who feel very strongly, who feel the same way about all of these different issues, and attendance is just one of them. The other thing is the pay, and I'll probably hush and let Mya let you know about that.
The pay, and I want to just piggyback just a little bit before we get to the pay on what Tiandra has just spoke on. When it comes to working there, it's very difficult. Even though you have vacation, or some of us have sick time, but it's very difficult to get the sick time built up because it's so little increments that they're allowed to build up any amount of good sick time.
How long do you have to work to get 1 day of paid sick time?
Oh my gosh, at least 3 months, 4 months or longer, because it's only like 1.5 a paycheck. It's very limited. So it's very
1.5 hours a paycheck?
Yes, it's 1 point. It's not a lot. I think it's
Right.
either 1.3. So you add that up, pay period. That's not, so how can you get to 8 hours? It's very hard to get to 8 hours. with that.
Right. It take you a
Um,
year to earn one day.
Almost, yes.
A lot.
Um,
It's a lot.
Vacation,
Mm.
vacation time, you know, sometimes you just want to relax. You can't, because even if you call in and take one of your vacation days, you're getting points. Or, you know,
Deducted. They have some kind of point system.
exactly.
So,
So,
so look, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just so curious to know that how does this compare with other employers are doing across the states? Is that becoming a norm for folks to have? Are these people egregious in the rules that they're making to be able to support their employees, or is that's just the norm, or are you thinking that you think that it's excessive the way that they're treating their employees?
I think it's becoming across the board myself. A lot of these companies now are just getting away with just too much unjustical. And to me, it's
Yeah,
another form of almost, I want to say almost like a form of slavery in
yes,
some ways. We're just not in the cotton field with it. We're going inside of a building with air condition. But I feel that it is because the average person, like with this company, 90% of the people that work for this company are African Americans.
mhm.
Okay. We're like,
And no, the executive management is also African American.
nah, no. I'm
They're not
talking
ninety
about
percent American. They're not 90% black.
no, the upper people are not. I'm talking about the small ones.
The ones on the bottom end of the pay scale.
Exactly.
When the
Like it,
bottom end of the pay scale and the top end of the pay scale are imbalanced, then that's clear. It is what it looks like it is. Racism is not, I find that racism is not hidden. It's very overt and very upfront. You can easily recognize it, you know. So
right.
that's why I asked. Thank you. So what were you saying about the uh Tiandra had asked you to talk about something, right?
Right. And I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So that's the whole point. And if you get sick, you have to use all your vacation time. So if, or they just sometimes take your vacation time without, if like me, I'm at home person that works. When my computer system went down, and I had to wait for the company to come in to get my system up and running. They just took my vacation time. There was nothing I could do about it. That's not my fault. So now I have basically no vacation time. So if you get sick, they take your vacation time. So it's almost like they're locking you in to just, like I say, that mentality of you have to be at work, because if you have children, you have family, you have a mortgage, you have car note, what you're going to do? You going to try to make ends to get there. So it's a very stressful situation for you. And then taking those calls is a mental thing too. It's mentally draining. It's physically draining. To go to the pay issue, the pay issue is definitely a mess. The people, what they did, which is so unethical, they had some people that were working from home, asked them to come back to the building because of the pandemic. They send a lot of people out. Well, some of the people they asked to come back in, they let them come in and work for a couple of weeks. I don't know if it was a month even. I'm not really for sure the timeline. But then they come back and ask them, do you mind going back and work from home? So of course, I'll do that. It's a convenient thing in some ways, and in some ways it's not. I'll go back home. After those people went back home, they came out with a newsletter I'm going to use, stating that the ones that are working in-house, which means on the site, you're going to get $3 more an hour. Okay? The ones that are sitting at home doing the same amount of work or more, because what they do, the people that are working in-house on the site, they get time off where they just, and I don't mind, hey, if you can get paid for twirling around in your chair, I'm not upset with you. But then the people that are at home, we are taking all the bulk of the calls, and I'm talking about we're getting slammed because they get a certain amount of time off the phone. So the people, but we don't. The people that work at home, we don't, nor are we getting that extra $3 an hour. I do like 4 jobs and get paid for one.
And it's important to note too, Kim, that this stuff that Mya's talking about is not, these aren't just phone calls. We just pick up the phone, say, hello, thank you for calling Sunshine Company. And, you know, it's a 2-minute call and you send the person on their way. These are in-depth, complex questions, concerns, applications that these people are processing. And they go through months of training sometimes. They have to go through dip training class after training class to gain these skills. Then they have continuous on the job training that they're required to do. Sometimes they are forced to be trained in another what's called line of business, to take a different type of call. So they have a huge complex job upon their hands. And what you'll hear from workers all the time is that they enjoy that work because they're helping their American people and they take pride in that. But they're not getting a fair shake. And especially work from home, it's a slap in the face when you're paying folks $3 that are working inside the building. But however, the same folks are working from home, and most of them had to pay for their own equipment to work from home. They had to purchase a laptop. They had to upgrade or get internet. They're paying their own power bill, and they have not received a penny, not 1 red cent of compensation from a company that collects billions of dollars from federal government contracts. So when we talk about inequity and when we talk about unionization, that is what we're referring to. We're referring about leveling the playing field for all folks, whether you work from home, inside the building, whether you are of African descent or are fair colored allies that also work in the building, because we do have those and we don't want to exclude those folks, but they're all in this situation where they are subjected to these ridiculous inequities on a daily basis. And then they're also subjected to an ever-shifting ball. Maximus is always moving the ball of what, just like Mya said, where they were told, and it's kind of like a yank and pull, right? It's a game almost. You're told to come in the building, you go out the building, come back in the building, go out the building. And how can you set up your work-life balance when you're constantly kind of being shifted and pulled and asked to do this and that, and you're bending over backwards for a company that's really only worried about their bottom dollar, their bottom line?
Exactly. And this is how this company works. As Tiandra stated, we have a lot to accomplish on these phone calls. It's not easy. And I commend anybody that does this work on a daily basis, because a lot of times people think, oh, they're just sitting on the phone. No, you got all kinds of people that you're dealing with over this phone. And you got to deal with them, and you have to have a personality to deal with that. Then you also have to have a personality to deal with someone telling you you're servicing someone, but you service them too long. Okay, so then you can get reprimanded because you are servicing people. You're servicing your country, basically. You're helping the people in your country, and you get reprimanded because you go outside of what they call, you can't handle your phone call. But then you got somebody on your phone that's asking you questions after question. Some people literally have 10 children. Yes, people are still having children in the United States. So you got people that have 10 kids, you got to put everybody on this application. You got to get all their information. They're asking you questions. And you got to go back and forth, but you get reprimanded because you can't handle your phone call if you go 5 to 10 minutes outside of your break. You can actually lose your job because you are servicing the people and you went outside of your break too many times. So if you go out what they call a hearings, you can get on a verbal, you can get on a written, and your written is your final straw. So the next thing is, if you can't keep this up, if you keep going outside of this for servicing the people, you can lose your job. That's sad. Now, these are all people from what we say, united we stand, God bless America. Yes. And this program is a federal program. So I'm a little confused on that. So, and the work from home people have gotten messed all over on this pay scale. And I'm one that is furious about it. Because I know what I do every day when I log on to that computer. I'm humping. From the time I hit that go button until the time pretty much I log off that phone, I am humping. I'm back to back. When I answer that phone, I don't know who I am because I'm doing 3 jobs or more. I'm doing the front line. I'm doing what they call the middle. I'm doing support, helping my peers. And then I'm supposed to be like a supervisor, but I'm not getting paid for any of that. But if I miss anything, any little niche of not doing my job properly, I'm getting coached on it. Well, heck, I'm stressed out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Anything that you do, pretty much you're going to get an e-coaching or you're going to get that notice of, well, I'm sorry, but we have to do this. And I do no, you don't.
A punishment, a reprimand.
Yes,
but let me tell you this too, that I'm just so honored and thankful for both of you ladies coming to enlighten the community and anybody who has the ear to hear the things that you're talking about today, because I have never ever, and I do a lot of advocacy work, I do a lot of work out here in the community. I've never ever had someone to come in and talk from this perspective of the workers who we talking to on the phone, because I have a lot of people that come on. And just recently myself, I had some medical issues, and it was the worst experience. And I feel terrible for the people who I'm calling to try to resolve these issues that I'm dealing with medically. Because here in Louisiana, Black women get the worst in medical care. We really are suffering in our medical care needs, and it's nothing that's being done about it. But then when I realized it, you guys are really putting the pencil to the paper here. That we got issues not just in trying to get assistance, because being able to have affordable health care is a real crisis, and I fought for us to be able to have affordable health care. I stood up for that. I fought for that. I petitioned for that. I campaigned for that. I put out signs up for that. All of that kind of stuff. And to hear that, and it's not. You said it's the federal government. It's the United States federal government, because we got governments all over the country. but our own government here in the United States of America have harmed what was meant to be good to make it bad when they doing this kind of thing. And they really almost like forcing the employees to give bad service. When they got you on a time clock, it's like they forcing you to give bad service to the community. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then all of the penalties that go along with that. So I'm just almost overwhelmed right now. I'm almost to tears hearing your oppression, because that's what this is. It's so oppressive.
Yes.
It's so it's so hard. And you're right. It's like what the elders have described slavery to be. It's almost like being in jail or something. You
Exactly.
gotta follow the rules of the new warden. Every new warden that comes in, they got new rules and stuff like that. So they get a new company that comes in, they got new rules.
Well,
This is
here's another
unbelievable.
irony. Here's another irony for you, if we may. So, folks in Bogalusa, the call center started out making as little as $10.35 per hour
Yeah.
in 2013. Now, we have done several petitions to raise the pay, and most recently, we had over 55 workers across the country sign on to a petition to send to Bruce Coswell, who is the CEO of Maximus, and well, we CC President Biden on there to ask them to not wait until his executive order to raise the federal contracted minimum wage goes into effect, because we know that they have the funding. They can do now if they really wanted to, because we know people are suffering. And also, you mentioned that you advocated for health care. Well, another irony is that these folks are helping the American citizens, right? We say the United States of America, get health care. Their health care increased to a $4,500 deductible.
Mhm.
Let me say that again, $4,500.
That's just like saying no. You don't get it if that's the deductible.
Right. And then you got a medical deductible. And I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm getting a little emotional with this thing. Forgive me. Because I know this is so unfair. And then a young lady came to me and told me, Miss Mya, I can't get my medicine. And this child, now it's just not a pill. And I'm not going to disclose her illness or her personal business. This is just not a medication that you just go and you get. She really needs her medication. She needs what she needs. I need what I need. And we can't get it with this medical insurance. And then when it comes to the pay, I had worked from this company from the start of when this program started. And when they finally decided to give us a raise, I think before the executive orders and before the union and all of that, I think it wasn't even a 5-cent raise after 5 or 6 years of working there. I think I got a 3 to 4 cent raise. How can you pay your bills and live like that? How can you do that? And then those people that are at the top, they go home, enjoy their families, and sleep well at night. How can you do that when I can't sleep? Because I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how I'm going to pay my mortgage, how I'm going to keep my lights on, but I got a job.
Yeah. Tell me this, Ms. Robinson. Uh, uh, do you all compare the rate to earn salary increases with upper management as opposed to the the lowly paid staff, the bottom level. Okay, say like if we have a graph here for the lower wage paid people and the higher wage paid people, their abilities to accrue uh, vacation and leave the same?
So absolutely not. And thank you, Kim, for the question. But yes, we do compare and we look at information, and a lot of these CEOs and the top level staff salaries are public knowledge. And
Yeah.
so they have to report that, and so that's how we gather that type of information. But when you talk about raises and salaries, this contract is governed by what's called the Service Contract Act. And so to break that down in layman's terms is the federal government says they, just like there's a federal minimum wage for federal contractors, each the government aligns a minimum that a company must pay a person for a certain job title. So if you were, say, a custodian that was working at the IRS federal building in your office, you would be considered a federal contractor, and that the government would assign a bare minimum that the company must pay you to be above the law, right? And so what this particular company has done, is continue to make money off the backs of almost 10,000 workers, because they're paid the government, they get a percentage of money for each body that they're employing. But what they do is they just pay that bare minimum that's required by law. It doesn't mean that they can't pay more, but the company has put out information in the past to the effect of messages that says, you will not be able to get a raise unless there's a act of Congress, which is absolutely not true. They actually prove themselves wrong by giving everybody a temporary $3 pay increase that works on site, right? So we know that they have the funding. And that's in part why we signed off on the letter. And we've had other workers that have talked about the letter. And they've sent many letters. As a matter of fact, we've been involved with organizing, and workers have been trying to organize for a little while here in Bogalusa and throughout the country. But what people also have to understand is it is your American right to unionize.
Yes.
It is something that has been fought for from the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s. Each year, and we're coming upon Labor Day in a couple of weeks, and that is all came about through the union movement. And so what we folks need to realize is that it's job security. And it's not a scary thing. It's not a bad thing. We actually did win what's called an unfair labor practice, a suit that we brought against Maximus with the National Labor Relations Board, in which a number of things were cited. They called the police on Mya and others that were actually just trying to pass out a flyer and tell their coworkers about a free barbecue. They called the police on them, and the police force, doesn't look like the workers there. I'm just going to put it like that. So that was a form of intimidation.
In Bogalusa.
Absolutely.
And, I'm sorry to say, but there is a reputation that already goes on there. And I'm all the way here in New Orleans, and I know about the reputation in Bogalusa. I know that in Bogalusa, even to hear that they even have this type of business there that Black people can work at and be able to be the appearance of being gainful employed. I was impressed. I didn't even know that was happening over there. You know what I'm saying? But everything that looks good, that does not mean it's good. Actually, it might look like a thing when it really ain't a thing. So I get that too, and I'm not surprised that, because I've seen this happening so much, just not only in Bogalusa but the entire state of Louisiana. We have some very oppressive employment situations that go on here where even the new Jim Crow days are here and living large here in the state of Louisiana. So the people are the only ones that I have found to be able to evoke change. And I'm glad that y'all here so that everybody can hear what's going on with Maxima and try to help them to get better and do right by the people that they serve and the people that they're employing with these federal dollars, or they need to lose their federal dollars. So
Right.
I really feel like what I would like to see us do from here, because that's what I want you to talk about, is the next steps that we can work on, and maybe we could spend the next 10, 15 minutes we have left in the interview to talk about uh um the next steps that you all are doing and how people can know about it and be able to support you. What like my daughter say, tell me how we can support you. But I tell you that I would like to see us be able to have a Zoom call with our federal leadership. Who's the federal leadership in Bogalusa? Who is the I'm going to tell you, the House and the state congressman, our House and state congressional leadership in the state of Louisiana, they have to be the point of contact to be able to get this quickly resolved. Quickly resolved. And I mean a statewide, because, we organizing, community recallers are organizing across the state of Louisiana. So we do have a network of outreach that we can get to champion the efforts here and bump this up a notch. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not in this alone, because we all of us are affected by what you're talking about here today. It's not just you. You gotta, but you see, when you being overwhelmed with oppression, it really sets out from its onset to stop you from being able to get support and make you feel in terms of it. And I was looking at this, I was looking at the R. Kelly story, right? But being able to isolate you from support is how oppression happens.
Right.
So
And
I
that's
would love to be able to for us to sit down and meet with, have a Zoom meeting with the leadership there, because what's happening in Bogalusa, uh what's happening in Bogalusa affects us all. Okay.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're looking for supporters. And that's why we were so excited that they took the testimony of workers in Louisiana and workers in Mississippi, and the National Labor Relations Board upheld the federal law, the National Labor Relations Act, and Maximus did send out a notification to all of its current workforce last Friday, indicating that they were in the wrong, that workers have a right to unionize, and that they will not interfere in them organizing a union in the workplace, which is totally within federal law, and basically to give them, empower them, right, to have a balance and to find their voice. So we're encouraging folks to within the community, but the community spreads beyond Bogalusa, right? We talk about Bogalusa, that's where the physical call center is, but it employs close to 400 to 500 people. So you have people traveling from New Orleans. You have people traveling from Covington, from Franklinton, from Picayune, Baton Rouge, yes,
Everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And so think about think about all the different dynamics that plays into folks coming together in that large of a work environment. And what type of community, Bogalusa, I've been there, I've traveled there, I've even worked there for a short time in 2018. And it's a community, it's a family environment.
Yeah.
And everyone is tied and connected. So if one of us is hurting, then all of us should be hurting. But you can find information about if you work at Maximus or if you're going to be getting employment there soon, you can visit Call Center Workers United Bogalusa. Again, that's Call Center Workers United Bogalusa. If you're a supporter, you can visit our public facing page for overall, and that's just Call Center Workers United. Both of those are on Facebook. We also have an Instagram where you can connect with us. And that's, again, Call Center Workers United. And when in doubt, reach out and ask. There's many people organizing there on the ground like Mya. And my message to everyone is, don't ever take my word for it. Don't take Mya's word for it. But knowledge is power. And educate yourself. Because if not, the wool can be pulled over your eyes very easily. And all we would hope for in assisting the workers with Maximus is that they are given a fair and equitable chance to make their livelihoods and their families' lives the best that it could possibly be.
So I know what I wanted to ask you too. So are they considered like, is that like regular employees, or is that listed as contract employees? What?
Go ahead.
We are federal contracted employees. That's what we are. But we are supposed to get the same treatment as regular federal workers, but we don't. The holiday's supposed to be the same. They're not, because that last holiday that they offered, we got the Juneteenth holiday, they made us have it as a floating holiday, and we couldn't take, it's a guideline on taking that holiday. There was another holiday, I can't really remember, where the federal government, I think the last president put that into works, and we didn't get that holiday. And a lot of the holidays and different things that the regular federal workers get, we don't get. But we are supposed to be treated the same, and we're not. And I just want to say I appreciate you for taking the time out to listen and wanting to help us, because we need the help. So whatever help that you can offer, or any type of connections that you can get for us, we need that here in this community, because Bogalusa is a very small community, and a lot of times the people here don't understand, and they don't know that the options that they have, or they don't know how to reach out for the resources that they can get to help them. So whatever help you can get for us or help us with is greatly appreciated on my part, because we need it. This is sad, and we need help.
And I talk to people every day who are so desperately trying to find employment, and but I also know that when we live in a system where resources are there, but it's not being filtered down to us, that's a part of the problem as well. It's the systemic racism. Even though we coming up, we ain't coming up. Everybody coming up, we ain't coming up.
Right.
And this company is doing a service and getting the money from the federal government, then they have got to be fair with how it's being dispersed. The federal government is going to have to stop doing business with them and get somebody else to come in there and do that job.
Absolutely. Again, this is these call centers are the only place you can call if you have a question about the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. It's just like with the Social Security office. It cannot be outsourced overseas because it's a federal program. So we have American citizens doing the American work to service the American people. When you call 1-800 Social Security or you call 1-800 USPS, the fact of the matter is those call center workers that are taking those phone calls for those federal programs are making on average $50,000 annually as a frontline, pick up the phone. This is Social Security. This is the post office. On average, the folks that are working as a frontline, pick up the phone, Obamacare, Medicare are making $29,000 to $30,000 annually.
And
Think
in the
about
state
that.
of
That is almost
Louisiana,
a
we know that
20,
that's poverty. And
that is
in New
correct.
Orleans, that's an impoverished salary. You can't live. You cannot afford to pay a mortgage on a $30,000 salary alone. This is not going to do it, especially when you got children and other expenses there as well. It's very difficult.
Right.
It's very
And
difficult.
I do want to say this. When I say the 90% of us are African American, then the other 10% are my fellow sisters and brother are Caucasian. I don't want to leave them out because they're in the struggle too. And
Of course.
the average Caucasian that is working over there, he or she is just like myself. They can't go elsewhere to get a job because they may not. I'm fortunate to have an education. Some of them are not. So, it's just like the have and the have not. Unfortunately, they're on the have not side. So they're looked down upon just like I'm looked down upon. But so and that's their situation, they are put in the same bowl that I'm put in.
Well, actually, my sister, I'm gonna share this with you. Is that when you comparing your salary to people who have less education and experience than you have, then that's not equal. That's not equal.
Let me rephrase it. I'm saying it to the fact of
I hear you though. I hear you. I hear you what you say because you are the torch carrier. You are the one who sees the injustice and can't just sit back and take it. And I love you for that because I have some of that as well. You know what I'm saying? So I commend you for that. I commend you for speaking up for your coworkers. I really do. And I see that that's coming from a very loving space. And that's coming from a very humane space of somebody who knows what it's like to be looked at differently and treated wrongfully. I see, I feel you on that. But it is not, it's not quite the same. It's not quite the same, and wrong is wrong. I don't care who doing it and what color their skin is. Whoever is doing wrong is wrong.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, and we have there's call centers in Phoenix, Arizona, there's call centers in Florida. So we have Hispanic brothers and sisters that are working there that are struggling. We have Caucasians, we have people from all walks of life that are struggling, right? Or that may be working there and may have had a good experience thus far, but it might be one thing that they, really just didn't get any help with. And that's really where the message lies, is that there's common ground that these workers can come together and unionize with. And when they find the common ground, they find their voice and they find their power. And it helps everyone to lift the voice and thus then lift the community.
Okay, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about talking to you guys, and I also want to work on being able to hold being able to talk with some of our elected officials in the state of Louisiana about this company and about the fact that this issue needs to be addressed, especially in light of Labor Day coming up. And we have an event down here in New Orleans on Labor Day where all of the union workers are come out, and I don't know what they're gonna do this year because of COVID, but I feel like outdoor events are safer than anything, as long as people are not all crowded up on each other. We can stay 6 feet apart. We can get blankets and sit outside, bring your own food or whatever, and be able to have some kind of uh convening. But I'm like, we sometimes I find that during this COVID-19 era, that man, we are getting the worst from some of our elected leadership. We getting the worst treatment. And this is a time when our whole country is at risk. And really, employers and leaders and elected officials should step up to do better in those areas that can benefit folks that's struggling. And I don't see that enough. I don't see enough of that. I see them telling you to go and get a vaccine, but shoot, I see things that look, we could have better, even access to meeting, public meetings. What was going on in the courthouses? That's all. Anybody can go into a courthouse. All of that has been shut down, and you get no access. None. None. So I applaud you. I say I'm gonna get a little button on here that I could press, and it play recorded in applause. When I get there, I'll get there. But I'm brand new too, trying to do this work. And I'm just honored that you guys took the time to come on and join me today. So I appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And what are your next steps? You want us to just follow you on the Facebook page for those folks who don't have Facebook? And some of my listeners, we on the radio. So some of my folks don't have Facebook, whether purposefully or not. Some of them don't. Some of them don't have Instagram. How would they be able to find out about
Yeah.
you? Do you have a website? The CWA have a website that you all are linked into?
So there is a CWA national website as well. But you all can also feel free to email me, or you can call me on my work cell. So I'm happy to give that out. My email address is trcwaorganizer@gmail.com if you'd like to connect that way. And if not, then you can always leave me a message on my cell or reach me that way on my work cell, and that's 601-310-8791. And really, again, if you're working there or thinking about working there, we have virtual Zoom meetings each Thursday. So all you have to do is email, text, or call, and just get a little bit of education about what you can do. A lot of these things that people are enjoying now, working from home, the pay increases that have happened over the past 2 to 3 years have been directly because the workers have done petitions, they've done actions, they've sent letters in order to pressure not only the elected officials, but the company, and to highlight the need for change. Because when the pandemic first hit, Maxima said, oh no, we cannot send you all to work from home. Would not be able to do that.
Everybody else in America could, but they could not.
Right.
So
Right.
And that's so crazy because who wants the tag of being an employee that helped all the employees get COVID and die? Who wants to be that employer? That's just some kind of arrogance. I can't even wrap my mind around that. So we're gonna end on that note because our time is up. But I appreciate you two ladies, and it's such a pleasure. I'm honored to meet you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kim.
All right, babies. Bye bye.
Be safe. God bless.
God bless.